Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new video on the channel. Today, we're going to be talking about Five Nights at Freddy's X Dead by Daylight, which, let's be real, this shit's in a couple months, and that is absolutely exciting. Five Nights at Freddy's X DBD has been something I've been wanting for a while. I actually got more into Dead by Daylight when Pyramid Head released, the Silent Hill chapter, and I've been coming back to the game occasionally. I came back for mostly for something like Resident Evil, both times, for the Unreal or The Grudge or Sadako, from Ringu. So there's been some chapters I've definitely come back for, but there's nothing that has gotten me more excited than Five Nights at Freddy's in Dead by Daylight. Okay, let me give you some context if you're unaware of what Dead by Daylight is. Dead by Daylight is a asymmetrical game where there's one killer and 4 survivors. The goal of the 4 survivors is to power on 5 generators and escape the match. The goal of the killer is to kill all 4 survivors. So pretty simple stuff. There's a lot of like perks and like every killer, every survivor has their own perks that really varies up gameplay. Although, let's be fucking realistic here, there's a meta, and most people run the meta. But I wanted to take some time today and talk about some stuff that I really hope for the Five Nights at Freddy's chapter. So let's just get into it, right? The first big thing, who do I think the killer's gonna be? Honestly, I'm gonna just be blunt. I'm thinking of Springtrap. Like, there's no other thing in this franchise that is more fitting for the role of Dead by Daylight than Springtrap. Springtrap is just kind of that guy. I know there's a lot of people who also think that the Yellow Rabbit from the Five Nights at Freddy's movie could work, and honestly, I think it could work too. But let's be more realistic here. If you're taking anything from the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise, you're probably gonna be taking from the games, and that there is just Springtrap. His design is genuinely some of the most peak shit I've ever seen. And that's taken, I'm biased, alright, I love fucking Springtrap. His design, it's so good, so good. As for the survivor, this is where it kind of gets weird. There's not a lot of characters in Five Nights at Freddy's, franchise that we've seen that we can actively, like, pinpoint. Michael Afton, I say, is one of those characters, and Vanessa from, Security Breach, I think would be unironically the other. Like, it's like that's genuinely about it. Because any other character that we've seen has been a child character. Obviously, something like Gregory or Cassandra. What's her? Is it Cassie? I think Cassie. It's been a while since I played Ruin. Outside of that, no. Because there's no really any other character that you could really put in this role. You could probably even do Vanessa from the movie, or even Michael from the movie, which that could work too, obviously. So you could at least blend some aspects of the franchise. But if I had to really say which one it would be, this is hard. Because based on the game, right, if we're taking from the game, I would say Vanessa. I would say Vanessa, because she's probably the most grown-up model that you have, that they could use. But if they do take from the movie, right, if they do Springtrap from the game, Survivor from the movie, I would say Mike. I 100% would say Mike. Now, what would the map be? This is a weird one, right? Because these games take place in different restaurants. So, honestly, I'm gonna drop, all right, let me cook. I think the Entity would actually do a mashup of these maps. The biggest focus would probably be Five Nights at Freddy's 3, Fazbear's Frights. But I could definitely see them like mashing up like elements from FNAF 1 and FNAF 2 into it. Maybe they might even do the oh my god, I'm horrible today. The Five Nights at Freddy's or the Fazbear's Pizza from the movie, which would be really cool too. But again, I really do see them probably taking more from the games. That would probably mostly be Fazbear's Fright, which would still be really, really cool. But I would definitely lean towards the mashup. But if they had to actually focus on one map, like if you take like Silent Hill or Resident Evil. Resident Evil was, you know, RPD, and then Silent Hill was Midwich Elementary. So they're probably gonna choose a singular map, and I believe that would probably be Fazbear's Frights. So again, I like the idea of mashing up the map, because they have done this concept before, where you kind of just have these like map ideas that just kind of mash together, and it looks cool as hell. So let's move on to cosmetics. Now this was interesting because I think honestly you're gonna get way more cosmetics for Springtrap. There's just a lot you can work with Springtrap, as opposed to something like Vanessa or Mike, right? Let's say hypothetically if Vanessa from the movie is, you know, the survivor, then you could probably do her security breach outfit, like the, you know, the Mega Pizzaplex Night Guard outfit, which would be kind of cool. They could even come up with their own original designs as well. If it's Mike, I would say either like it would depend on like if they're doing like his like Night Guard outfit or just a casual outfit. You could do like you could swap, right? And you could get either or. So that's really cool. But Springtrap is mostly going to be getting the cosmetics here. The first big one, right, is if they do Springtrap as the main killer, I could definitely see them doing the Yellow Rabbit as a maybe like a legendary cosmetic. And again, if they do the Yellow Rabbit as the main killer, then I could definitely see them doing Springtrap. Like I think both will still work. I think both will still be in the game. And I want to get that one because it's probably the most obvious one out of the way. Or that they'll do maybe Springbonnie, or is it technically still the Yellow Rabbit from the games? Can you still call it that? Because I know the like Into the Pit I think is referred to as the Yellow Rabbit, or it might be referred to as Springbonnie. And that could also work too, just like a more clean game version of Springtrap, but as like, you know, the Springbonnie could work as well. Glitchtrap could work too. Glitchtrap would actually be kind of a cool cosmetic. Let's see, there's Scraptrap if they really wanted to use it, right? Not the most popular design of Afton, although I think it's grown on a lot of people in more recent years. I still think it looks goofy as fuck. But like it's cool, I guess. It's cool. Burntrap, I could see them definitely doing Burntrap as well as a cosmetic. So again, there's a lot of potential here. And that's not even going into the fucking FNAF AR shit. Like, there are so many variations of the goddamn Springtrap in FNAF AR. There's like, what, the circus one? There's what, the toxic one? There's technically Dark Springtrap from Sister Location, the custom night ending, which is more just Springtrap but burnt. There's that. So there's a lot of cosmetic potential for just Springtrap alone. Again, he is one of the most popular characters in the entire fucking franchise. So he has a lot of cosmetic potential. So, like I said, I tried to do... I might be missing some stuff here. Like, I really can't think of a whole lot for the survivors, because we just don't get to see a lot of the survivor, or at least like Vanessa or Mike Schmidt, because most often these games are in first person. So maybe there's like a Foxy mask for Michael based on like FNAF 4, maybe. That's really the only thing I can think of, like outside of that. So let's talk about potential cosmetics for just other killers, survivors. One really big one, I actually really want to talk about this because I saw this as a comment, and I don't know if this was their own original, like them coming up with the idea, or they saw it for someone else. The Unknown as fucking Mangle. It's cinema. It's cinema. They cooked. It's fire. That would be fucking cool. Or maybe like Phantom Mangle. Or even Nightmare Mangle. Like, that would be really fucking cool. Like, that's such a cool fucking concept, and I love that. I did see Blight getting a Foxy cosmetic, because obviously if you play FNAF 1, Foxy's quite a fast boy. So obviously that matches the Blight. Let's see what some other ones here too. I could see maybe the Legion, like maybe Julie. I would say more so Julie, but maybe Susie too as well could get it. getting Vanny, the Vanny outfit from Security Breach. That'd be kind of cool. Again, I want to bring this up. As much as like it'd also be kind of cool to have Vanny as a killer, I just don't think she has the pull power that Springtrap does. That's not to say that I think, again, Security Breach is a very, very weird fucking game. The Vanessa or Vanny just was not, like, they did not cook with her, which sucks too, because she had really great potential. And that's why I just don't think Vanny is going to be the killer. I genuinely think it's going to be Springtrap. But they could do Vanny as like a cool like outfit. Again, I know the Legion already has bunny outfits from Silent Hill. But this is genuinely just so distinct enough that you could make it its own other cosmetic. So survivors, I'd say maybe you can give them some like Freddy masks or masks from Freddy's. Like you can get Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, maybe Foxy, Golden Freddy, the puppet, would be really cool. Maybe the spirit could get the puppet. That'd be kind of cool. I'm trying to think of like, because I would love the idea of like Nightmare, or Nightmare Fredbear, like one of the Nightmare animatronics getting a cosmetic. That would be raw as fuck. So there's a lot of really cool potential here. There's so many characters, so many distinct characters from Five Nights at Freddy's that you could absolutely make some cosmetics for and give them to other killers and survivors. So that would be really, really cool. If they did that, again, it's a pretty big collab. I 100% can guarantee that there's going to be a lot of cosmetics. They're making bank on this chapter. Let's be fucking real. So, let's talk about probably the biggest thing that I wanted to make this video on, because I've been seeing a lot of videos and there's a lot of discussion. What is Springtrap's power going to be? Now, this is a really interesting topic because it would really depend on, because like, obviously the entity would give him some power. So what could they do? What could they cook? Now, me personally, I like the idea of having the Phantom animatronics be a part of his power. Like, Five Nights at Freddy's 3, you know, Springtrap is synonymous with the Phantom animatronics. They're not real, however, they do end up leading to Springtrap getting to your office, right? Because they cause disruptions, they malfunction your equipment, and the longer you're not looking at Springtrap, the closer he can get pretty quickly. So I would really like the idea of, you know, Springtrap, his power being somewhat tied to the Phantom animatronics. Now, I've seen some really cool ideas here. Not just the Phantom animatronics, but I've seen some ideas too, just for like Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy. So one of these ideas was that it could be similar to how Knight plays with his guards. You can send out maybe, let's say for instance, there's what, 3. You could do Freddy, Foxy, and Chica. Phantom Foxy, Phantom Freddy, and Phantom Chica, obviously. And they each have a different effect, which would be really cool. I don't think the power should be super complex, because obviously, let's be real, Five Nights at Freddy's is geared towards a child audience. Kids, teens, like that area, like they're not like, you'd want the power to be appealing enough for anybody could pick it up, but not like so simple that it's like brain dead levels of like simplistic, right? Because we're at a point with Dead by Daylight where a lot of killers are getting quite complex powers for their kits. So I think that Springtrap will definitely have like a semi-complex kit. But I would really like the idea of incorporating the Phantoms, right? Being able to send them out to have them do a different effect. Like how like the Knight can do it. Or I saw another really cool one where you can select a specific Phantom and then you can control the Phantom. You could have some form of power. I don't think the Phantoms can really do a whole lot, because again, they would be kind of really, really powerful if you could essentially have multiple killers on the map at the same time. I saw that like the most that they could probably do is maybe hit a survivor, but they can't really knock them into the dying state. And if they're already injured, then maybe they'll apply some like status effect on them. Or maybe it hinders survivors. Like, you could send, like, Phantom Freddy out on a generator, and they'll become incapacitated. Like, they can't work on generator because of, like, fright or something like that. Some other thing I saw, too, was that Springtrap could have, like, a passive buildup effect. Think along the lines of, like, Sadako's, like, what's it called? Is it Condemn? I think it's Condemn. When she, like, teleports into the TVs and uses her power on survivors, you build that Condemn status up. Maybe you could have something like that, but tied to Springtrap, which would be really, really cool. Like one of the names for the power I saw was Happiest Day, and I'm like, that's fire. That's peak. That's it right there, boss. Right? So there's like a lot of really cool potential with his power. I just do not want him to be a basic M1 killer. Like, I want his power to be able to be very unique, and like, you're gonna be using his power a lot. Like another one I saw, make it similar to how, like, maybe Myers is with tearing up. You have his tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, where when Myers reaches tier 3, he can automatically down a survivor for the duration of tier 3. You something like that. Is it Evil Within? I think it's Evil Within. It was just a power. You could do something similar like that with Springtrap. And maybe when he, the more he levels up, maybe it's not like a timer based thing like how Myers is, but like once he reaches or like Nemesis, right? The more he gets the tiers up, he gets specific, new things that he could do within the trial, which you have to be able to counterplay, right? A lot of really cool potential. And I just really, really hope that his power is fun, it's unique to him, and it's not just something that's just going to essentially help you be an M1 killer, right? Because that really, really sucks. I also just don't really want him to be just an anti-loop killer, because, like, there's quite a lot of those in the game already. Again, you have something like Knight, you have Alien, you have the Xenomorph, you have Pyramid Head, who's a really powerful anti-loop killer. It would be really cool to just have a killer that isn't primarily anti-loop, but if you play his power like smart, then you could potentially have an anti-loop ability, but you have to just be really good with it, right? It shouldn't just be the main focus of the killer's power. Again, like something like Pyramid Head, with his range attack. With his power, I would also really like the idea of having a special Mori, similar to like how Pyramid Head or Sadako does when you like Pyramid Head, once you're on Death Hook and you have the Torment status. If he downs you, then he could do Final Judgment. He brings the Great Knife over his head, and then he just gives you the chop. Or Sadako with the Condemned. Once you reach, the red Condemned, when you get down, she can just kill you on the spot. That would be really, really cool. Which would kind of also fit the idea of the fact that he can kill you really, really quickly. Like how in the games, if he can rush to your office and kill you really fast. That would be really, really cool. That's done. So talking about the Mori, I would really, really think it'd be really cool if, let's say, for instance, his killer power does involve the Phantoms. If in some capacity, his killer power, obviously it has something to do with the Phantoms, but his Mori also included the Phantoms. Maybe they, is somewhere similar to, how, Knight is, but except they, maybe they hold down the survivor in Springtrap, puts some form of spring lock onto the survivor, and he trips the spring lock. And then, because I like the idea of, the Phantoms, the idea that I had, I can't really visualize it very well. The Phantoms, maybe he summons a bunch of the Phantoms, which would be able to include more of the Phantoms, without, incorporating them into the gameplay. He summons all the Phantoms, and they each put a piece of a Springlock suit on the survivor, and then Springtrap himself trips the Springlocks, and you just watch the survivor's body just crumple inside of the Springlock suit. Just the way you can keep it, definitely a brutal Mori, but not, overly gory, right? Without actually just making, brain matter and stuff, flying out, where you can keep it very close to the game, but just still keep it brutal, which would be really, really cool. Similar to how, like, maybe in the FNAF movie, spoilers if you haven't seen it by this point, like, come on now, the second movie's coming out in December. um, without, like, Springtrap or how, Afton gets Sprungtrap at the end of the movie, something like that. But with the survivor, and it's, like, really, really quick, so you just watch their body crumble and they, like, fall to the ground, which would be really, really, really cool. And if he does have, like, some, special Mori, maybe he's, like, jump scares the survivor, and that, like, the old Foxy jump scare heart attack theory, but it's, like, an actual mechanic. Oh, God, dude, I just grew a little older. It's just me bringing that up, holy shit. So there's, like, a lot of really cool potential there. And if we're talking about special Moris, maybe the yellow rabbit could have, maybe, like, a special variation of the Moris, or maybe his own special Mori, dedicated to the cosmetic, which would be really, really cool. Definitely bump up the value of the cosmetic. That would be really, really cool. I can't really come up with an idea for the yellow rabbit outside of, like, maybe summoning, like, Golden Freddy, or maybe the other animatronics, like Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy. And then maybe it's similar to the same way, like, they put you in a springlock suit, they shove you in a springlock suit, and then, again, trips the spring locks and your body crumples to the ground. Like, it's still, like, similar to the original Mori, but it's just very slightly altered because of, obviously, you're using the movie version of the killer, and so you're going to want to use something from the movie, right? That'd be really, really cool. So, all in all, let's talk about, like, my last hopes for... my last hopes? What the hell? No, the last thing I want to talk about are, like, my other hopes, overall for the chapter. So, the first big one, obviously, is to be quite respectful to the franchise. Dead by Daylight is obviously very respectful to the IPs they bring into the game. They treat every single IP they, bring into Dead by Daylight with a lot of care. Obviously, because these are fans of horror as well. These are horror fans bringing horror IPs into their horror game. They care a lot. And obviously, as far as I can tell, I think they're working closely with Scott Cawthon. It would make sense. Scott would be working very closely with Dead by Daylight, because I think a lot of ways he'll want to ensure that everything is to his standard, because Scott is notoriously known for being very, 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 very passionate about this franchise. But make sure everything is to his liking. So, I could definitely expect a lot of Easter eggs, in this chapter, similar to, like, how, like, every horror IP chapter there is. But the biggest, like, one that I can think of that comes to my mind is, Silent Hill. There's a lot of Silent Hill Easter eggs within the Silent Hill chapter. Now, which is, especially on Midwich, but they loaded, that chapter to the brim with Easter eggs, which was really, really cool. I think there's a lot of Easter eggs for, Resident Evil as well, and I could definitely, especially with Five Nights at Freddy's, this is an entire franchise. Like, these games are built off of Easter eggs, and the lore is tied to a lot of them too. So I could definitely expect a lot of them in this chapter. But another really big thing that I'm really, really hoping for. Now, this might just be me, but a lot of what makes Five Nights at Freddy's so special isn't just the story, the characters, the fact that it's persisted so long. It's the fan content. Five Nights at Freddy's has a lot of fan content, not just games, but there's a lot of animations, a lot of custom characters being made to fit in this franchise. Looking like something like Five Nights at Candy's, there's a lot of fan content. I'm not saying that you have to put fan content in the game, but it would just be like a nice nod. There's a little Easter egg, a little wink, wink, nudge, nudge from the developers. Like, right, maybe like on one of Springtrap's, what is it, like add-ons or whatever. It has a little funny reference to, like, it poses the question like yada yada yada. No, why would you want to stay 5 nights at Freddy's? Like, it's a little nod to it. Like, I'm not saying it should be explicit as that, obviously, like the living tombstone, whatever. But it would be really, really cool. Just fun little nods like that to fan content, because again, Five Nights at Freddy's is a lot of what makes Five Nights at Freddy's so special is the fan content. With, like, and again, like I said, animations, music, fan games, and a lot of other things too. Now, my biggest other hope is that they do not make Springtrap's add-ons dog shit. I will never forgive them for what they've done to my boy Pyramid Head. His add-ons are dog ass. Please do not do it to Springtrap. I beg you. I am on my knees begging you. Do not make Springtrap's add-ons dog shit. Please, I am begging you. I'm not saying they need to be overpowered as well, but like, make them good enough to where you'd actually use them and it'd actually benefit you. None of Pyramid Head's add-ons actually do anything beneficial. They just you can pretty much play Pyramid Head without his cosmetics and you still get the same fucking experience. Like, please don't fuck this up. Please, I'm begging you. 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 So, all in all, though, this was a big video, and I really wanted to take some time to really just sit down and gush about this because I'm really, really excited for Five Nights at Freddy's to come to Dead by Daylight. I made a video pretty much immediately after it was revealed. Kind of just getting all my, like, jumbled, like, immediate thoughts out there. But I really wanted to take today's video to really, like, go over everything. As far as I know, there's supposed to be, like, some presentation or, like, some reveal in PAX in May, I think, before the anniversary live stream. Where I think Five Nights at Freddy's is going to be the anniversary chapter. Like, I just don't see it being, it's such a big chapter. I just don't see it being anything but the anniversary chapter. I don't know, they might surprise us, and it might come out in, like, August or some shit like that, or, like, September, but it's for summer, right? Obviously, June is summertime. So, I cannot wait for this chapter. I'm going to be making content on it. I'm very, 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 very excited. I have full faith in the dev team for Dead by Daylight. I know recently they've been doing a lot. They've been pretty much doing what Siege did with Operation Health. They've been doing that for the game. Obviously trying to, like, iron out a lot of the game's biggest problems. And obviously because it's Five Nights at Freddy's. Obviously this game is about to get what its biggest chapter. Probably in its history. And there's going to be a lot of new players joining the game for Five Nights at Freddy's. So they want the game to be in the best possible shape that it can be for when that drops. And it's 100% understandable. So I have faith in them. I 100% do. I just really hope that the chapter release isn't super buggy on release. Obviously, like, PTBs are going to be buggy, right? Because obviously this is when it's being released to the public. To test out on PC. The devs, a lot of, like, the dev stuff is in controlled environments. Now you're letting that out. You're letting the floodgates open to where you're going to have a lot more variables with, you know, the public and stuff like that. And they've been doing a really good job of listening to feedback and stuff like that. So I think if, like, maybe Springtrap is a little, you know, his power isn't as, you know, it could use a buff, they'll listen and obviously they'll buff it, and stuff like that. So fingers crossed that they keep that going forward, not just for the Five Nights at Freddy's stuff, but even afterwards, right? So thank you guys so much for watching. This was a long one, I know, but I really, really do appreciate it. Now, the last big thing I want to talk about in this video, if you just wanted to just end up, like, click off the video now, go ahead. I'm done talking about Five Nights at Freddy's and Dead by Daylight. The channel very recently hit 400 subscribers, which is fucking insane to me. When I started my YouTube channel back in 2013, it still has persisted all the way to this point. My YouTube channel is essentially just a channel where I can just upload all my silly ideas and, you know, gameplay stuff that I record, just because I like doing it, right? And that's how it always has been, and it's how I should always look at it. Like, that just goes for everybody, right? Once you force YouTube to be like a job, then everything about the passion goes away. And if you think that it wouldn't be noticeable, it is very noticeable. You could tell when, you know, when it becomes, when a creator's focus shifts from being, you know, obviously the passion, the fun in the content creation, where now you're making big bucks off of it and it becomes more like a job. You know, a lot of your audience will always discover, or not really discover, but they'll always notice that shift. And something that I've done is I try to keep it just for fun. I'm never going to get to the point of getting paid. And even if I could get to the point of getting paid, I still wouldn't get paid by YouTube. YouTube pays nothing. So, I'm just here to have fun. And that's how I always think of it. And that's how I think it should always be. I made a pretty lengthy community post about it the other day, right when we hit 400 subscribers. So if you really want to check out all the things that I listed off there, I would 100% tell you to go look at that post, because there's a lot of really cool content coming up. But I really just wanted to like vocalize, just how much I really appreciate it. Again, like when I started my channel all the way back in 2013, I didn't even think I'd ever reach fucking like 50 subscribers, like let alone like 100, and now fucking 400. I appreciate the fuck out of every single one of you for subscribing. I know a lot of the channel recently got a big surgence from Pokemon Shining Pearl, and I'm glad that you like Shining Pearl. I actually really liked recording it too. I actually genuinely didn't expect it to come out as good as it did. Especially Cynthia. I talked about it in my one community post. That was technically my third try. But I count it technically as my second real try because, again, her Spiritomb one-shot my Roselia, so I reset. But no, I genuinely thought I was going to struggle. And I got very, 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 very close on my first attempt. I was really, really hoping I could pull that off. But unfortunately, the friendship shit did not clutch what I really needed it to. And I didn't expect frickin' her Garchomp to just one-shot all my stuff with Earthquake. So, but hey, if you're here from Shining Pearl, a lot of really cool other Let's Play stuff on my channel, along with like stuff like Faded, obviously recently Catalyst, there's Defenders, there's just a lot of really cool shit on my channel that I've done. Again, obviously out of the passion for doing it. But again, like I said, if you want, a future layout and stuff, I'm not going to go into it because this video would be fucking 3 hours long if I did that. Go check out that community post where I kind of like lay out my plans for content going forward. So thank you guys so much for subscribing to the channel. I really do fucking appreciate it. And I know this commentary video seems like kind of out of the blue. It's just kind of like my situation right now is where I can't really do a lot of commentary as much as I would like to. So that's why I really am very picky choosy with what I do. Elden Ring is kind of the exception and not the rule of thumb. Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree, I was really more able to do a lot more non-commentary because I could focus more on the game, and when I do commentary, I feel very, very weird, right? Because I always like to do this shit when I'm alone, or at least I know that there won't be as much background noise. And I like that controlled environment, so I don't like doing it when I know people are awake or where there's gonna be a lot of background noise. So that's why I primarily switched to non-commentary. There will be commentary videos every now and then, but at least going forward, most videos are gonna be non-commentary. So yeah. So all in all, thank you guys so much for watching the video. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you again for 400 subscribers. It genuinely is fucking unreal, and I appreciate every single one of you. I'm gonna get going. New Paper Mario Thousand Year Door remake video today. Some really cool stuff happens. So yeah, I'll see you guys soon for obviously more content going forward. And yeah, have yourselves a fantastic day. I appreciate the fuck out of every single one of you. I love you all. And yeah, peace out.